look that nice. So last time we met, I did start a bit about functions. And I think for this type of menu where we don't add any active content to it, the better solution might be using functions for this one. So as we hopefully, most of us at least, remember that the functions in Python are quite simply defined. You just type def, name the function, open and close a curly bracket. And after a colon, you just write after an indentation whatever the function does. So it seems quite simple. So if we had this application, this element, it just basically repeats the I. It takes the I and it takes, well, this L is basically each element of weather. So it doesn't matter, but it does take this I element. But the thing is, I'm wondering how one could do it. So it's good, but I think we should just make a function with parameter. Actually, we can build two functions because the whole thing here, this line, we can make a function for printing some stuff for us. For example, that this will be simpler. So we just copy it. We define, let's call it the ending function. All it does is just going to print this and nothing else. So should be quite simple, right? When you call the function ending, it will print in the console exactly this line. So instead of this whole line, we just call the function and let's see how it works. It just works as if there was just print there, but it looks a bit less messy, a bit more ordered. Any questions so far?
What was the point? Like, did it make the whole code now
of the function, introducing a function in it, yes?
Okay, but the loop still exists, right? And it just does everything.
Yeah, I didn't touch the loop. I'm going to change the loop into another function soon.
Oh, okay.
So it gets easier to read because now this loop is a bit of a mess. Big this, bit of that. So we have this one function. So let's make a new one. Let's call it menu. Well, the problem is we have to introduce something, and this is the first function with a parameter. And what we put inside is this whole thing. And this menu is iterating over this whole weather thing, over this list. And it's basically printing out proper message format. And then it just increases the I by 1, but well, there's a problem with the function that, well, yeah, I think it should be fine. So we introduce an I over here. So when we have the ending, we have many, but we need to introduce a parameter because the function was declared with a parameter. So when we put menu with an I as a parameter, yes, there is a problem. All right. Let's check again. No, there is no problem. I must have had something in the line in terminal that gave me problems. And it's still, as we can see, it works exactly the same. We get the same output. The only plus is, well, we have some defined functions, and now it's easier to describe them. Prints the 0 option. And we have this menu, which just prints the menu. It's going to be easier this way. Let's just make it even, so it's a bit easier to read. Okay, a bit more orderly, it's nicer. The problem is with, well, the parameter. When we introduce some parameter into the function, it is going to use it. I called it I over here, but over here I can name it A. It doesn't matter much, I guess. Because it's like the definition of the function says that you are going to use some parameter over here, and whatever the parameter doesn't matter. It's just like a definition of a function. And over here, we decided we give as this parameter I. So basically, it identifies as A is equal I. So it still works, even though it's just named differently over here. I guess it's a bit confusing still. But let's just follow the whole function one by one. So while the choice is not 0, so no one pressed 0, it will print how is the weather. Well, actually, this one we can also put inside the function. It works as well. And then it prints the whole menu. And why the I? Because we want to have these nice numbers. Can we do it differently? Probably yes. We want to put a number in there, and we want to put a number in order. We can make it a parameterless function. We can take this I away. You just put it before the loop, right? And then we do it like this, and it's still gonna work. It works. It works, but there's a difference because before the I was over here, but now it's inside the function. And the problem with parameters that are, well, it's not only a problem, it's also an advantage in so many cases, that whatever parameter is inside this function, I mean, inside any function, it doesn't go outside the function. So, for example, after printing many once, we want to print I. Already, VS Code is pointing that there will be a problem here. And it says the I is not defined. The question is, can one do something about it? Well, basically, one can name the I as a global I. I is equal 1. And then it would work. In this case, this print I works when we declare it this way. But the thing is about functions, it's good if we have some data inside the function, because quite often we don't want to leak the data from inside the function outside the function, as long as it doesn't require it. So let's just skip with this print I. I was just showing that whatever is inside the function cannot be outside, cannot be seen outside the function. So this way, our while loop is ordered, and it's just made of this menu the ending of the menu, but basically, because the ending was like the first definition of the function, we could just copy it and paste it here. The same indentation as the for is, so basically outside the for loop already. This way, we print the menu with just one function. And there it is. Seems to work. Okay, it's going to be sunny and cold. I thought I pressed 3, 2, 1. Doesn't matter. If there are some errors in the program, feel free to find them and let us know. Surely we will together solve any issues. And the while loop so far has got this menu. It basically prints the menu. And we have this input thingy, the choice. And we have this filter that removes the choices, the choice that we don't want, like that is outside our numbering, which is 1 up to 9, according to the length of this weather list. So with it this way, it looks a lot more manageable. We don't have the excess code. It's a lot easier to read. So there's a big advantage using functions. Well, they are nice, and as long as the function works, you know what it gives you, then you're happy about it. Like when you're importing libraries, like this random library, like the math library, you don't care how the function is made. You're just happy that you know what you can use it for. Meaning that the rand int function from this random library creates a random integer number according to the parameters you give. This many function, it's just printing this whole list for you. Nothing else, which is nice. If you want, we can call the menu function over here. So after finishing the program, over here with a 0, well, it obviously there's an error because the choice is empty and you cannot pop from an empty. Well, what is it? Okay, this line 27. It gave the problem cannot pop from empty list. So the problem was because we were popping from the list because we didn't have this filter before. And this filter is taking into account that if it's greater than 0, do not add it to the list. And that's the issue. We don't need this pop anymore. So we can just comment it out. So when we try it again and just put a 0, the weather is going to be a nothing because it's not going to be anything. That's the issue. So the next thing we can do, we can make a function for this sentence. We have all of this code. It's nice, but we can make it more ordered. And this way we can make a function with parameter. How would we start it? So let's see. This one is filtering out the unwanted choices. Filters out repetitions. And what was next? We have correct choice list. Well, we printed this list, but we don't have to anymore since we know it works. So we'll just skip that. And this is our ultimate sentence. We can change it a bit. I mean, we could be changing it if we wanted. But for now, what we can do, I believe this whole thing, we can change to a function. So to change it to a function, if we select everything in VS Code and we add a tabulator, it doesn't destroy everything. It just gives a space, which is nice. And then we can type def stick. And there we have it. But we want to make it a function with a parameter. So let's put sentence and choice list. The thing is, with the naming here, I could have named it speak A and B, right? And the thing is, it might be a bit confusing if I name them the same as the parameters I provide for the function. So for the sake of learning more about functions, I'll just rename this one. So speak function is going to take a sentence like this ready type of words. Let's just call it intro over here. In the VS Studio Code, if you press Ctrl F and press this down arrow, you can highlight all the repetitions of words, and you can replace them with what you want. So this one we replace. Replace. And this one we keep. So the next thing we want to change is choice list inside the function. So where are we? Choice list. And we're going to change it to additions. I think that should work. And we can just press enter. Okay. So this way we changed fast this whole thing. The good thing good thing to do is take all these functions and take them up to the top, like have this place for all this type of definitions. And now we want to use this pick option. So we need to put this intro, which is the sentence, and additions, like the bonus words we are going to add. And these words are going to come from the choice list. Okay, and let's see if it's still going to work. Let's see, 5, 5, 6, 6, 7, 7, 0. The weather is going to be warm, humid, and dry. Okay, this whole sentence. Yes, any questions?
What is the speak? Where does the speak come from?
What again?
The last line, speak, sentence choice. Like what is speak? Where does it come from? Or where do we?
Just the function we defined. I'm going to take this sentence because it's like predefined value. It's good to have all your predefined values at the top. And here is this function we just defined. This function, we just took a part of our code because I saw that I can change it into a function. Because over here there was sentence and sentence plus word, but just not to confuse, I changed it to a unique name, but I could still go with the word sentence and choice list. But basically, it's better to just name them differently so that one doesn't get lost, especially when replacing the words. When you press Ctrl F and you massively replace some words, you might by accident replace things that you should not have replaced, and then finding this error over. I mean, right now we have just like 50 lines of code. It's still okay to find something, but if we have over 200 lines of code, and if it's quite well, you made part of the code some time ago. In the end, people when programming quite often reuse the code, reuse something they made, because there's no point like reinventing the wheel. It's good to use whatever libraries you already had, and when you reuse the codes and unfortunately have similar type of naming, and you think that in the code I never use this type of variable, I'll just go and fast replace everything. And there is this option here, replace all, which can make quite a mess of things. So for now, I just chose to define the function with different names, because, well, I could, so why not?
So, but the intro and the other one, where these additions, where are these defined?
Those are the variables you put inside the function. So intro is going to be sentence, and additions is going to be choice list. When we go lower, here we call this function.
And then okay, and now you can just change intro with sentence and add on with choice list.
Yeah, or you can just name it intro to, and you just change intro to everywhere, so it refers to the same thing. It's just a name inside the function. It's just a name.
Okay.
It doesn't matter what you name it, as long. But when you make a function, you want to name it nicely. Like if you make a function for addition, and you add A to B, then it's okay because you just add some two unknown numbers. But you can also name them number 1, number 2, so people actually know that they should not. I don't know, put some other things there. But addition actually works with many type of variables, so maybe it was a bad example. But for example, multiply. Well, it would be hard to multiply words, so it's rather only for the numbers. Okay, so we managed to convert some of the code to the function. I believe it must have been a bit too fast, a bit too messy. Let's maybe go over some of the functions, like in W3 schools. There should be some material on that, but it just doesn't look appealing to me. Okay, let's go over here. We have functions, some material on that. Let's zoom in. Yeah, so we have this function for generating a full name. It got no input, like we see. So when you want it to print things out, you just order it to print. But this is a tricky function. This is a function with return. I didn't talk about them yet, so let's stick with this one. This example, generate full name. So the first name, last name, space, and then it's all concatenated. So it's just basically addition of strings, and the function, what it's doing, prints to the terminal the full name. So launching, this is the definition of the function over here. Definition by alone doesn't do anything until you call it. When you call the function, it will print whatever data was defined in the function. So in this case, it will generate the full name.
But did we call our functions in what we were?
Yes. Here at the beginning, I have some constant values, and we have definitions of functions over here. Here,
but where do we say generate?
So now here, the program starts. At line 34 only, the program starts. So the first thing it does, it makes a while loop. Here, we'll call the first function. We call the print menu function over here. Next, we take the input from the user. We can also make a function for that, but let's just not overcomplicate things for now. Here, we check if the choice is smaller than 9 or equal or greater than 0, and if it is, we add it to the list. Otherwise, we just don't do anything with it. We didn't put any else statement because we don't need it. This condition, as long as it's fulfilled, meaning when we use AND, both conditions need to be fulfilled for the thing inside, for this line to happen. If one of them is not fulfilled, it's not going to append this choice list at all. If you guys remember, beside the AND, there is also the OR. If one of the conditions is fulfilled, it will go ahead and execute the line. But we don't want to. We are picky in this case. So we want the AND. And what else? Okay, I here printed many for nothing. I can delete this. We don't need this. Here we print outside the loop, but actually we don't need it anymore. So we can simplify the function by a lot. As you can see, the whole program, this is it. This is a big function for printing many, and there is a bigger function, this one, speak, which is speaking out a sentence with whatever additions there are inside. Choice lists or a list of whatever words we want to insert inside any of the sentence. And if we go back to see how this whole speak function looks, it takes the intro being whatever we introduce, in this case, sentence. If we go to the top of the code, we can see this is the intro, basically, the way there is going to be. So when we call the speak function, instead of intro2, sentence is called. Intro2 is just basic, just definition for function, as I said before. And when we call this function with sentence, everywhere where intro2 is, it treats it as a sentence. So the sentence is the weather is going to be. Over here, the weather is going to be, and we add a word. The word is from these additions. This is a list of additions. Well, in this case, it's already a set of additions, but doesn't matter that much, I guess. We check the length of the list, so we know which kind of addition we get to add. Do we add add? Do we add dots, or do we add a comma? I guess this might be also a bit confusing, but if you guys try the code and just try to change things, remove things, you will get the hang of it. Trying and seeing how everything works, I think that's a good thing. So over here, we add the word to the sentence, and here we decide which connector is proper for this point. This one, we could also basically make into a function, but that might be overcomplicating things.
What would be if we have if we have 5 or 9 several different definitions? Would it then always be and with this?
Well,
whether it's going to be warm, comma, humid and dry. What if the weather is going to be warm, humid, dry, hail and snowy? Like, when does that say the end is always the second to the last is the end, or you know what I mean?
Let's try this code. So I'm going to pick everything 1, 2, 3, 4, but now I'm going to go from the last and 0. Now we have all types of weather. The weather order is, because we didn't sort it in any way, the weather order is by the order we pressed it on the keyboard, and we pressed 5. Last 5 is warm. Okay, the thing is, actually it's a set, so the set is going by different rules, and probably that's why the order is a bit mixed up, because I pressed it by random, the whole thing. So let's try 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. And now humid, sunny is last. Humid is here, sunny is here, like 6 and 3 is last. For well, reasons unknown. The problem is because we converted something to a set, and when converting, it probably has its own way of ordering things. So if we want the list to be like alphabetically, well, we could do that, I guess. What we do? Intro to sort, and let's see, does that work? I'm not sure if I can sort sets. Doesn't hurt trying. Yeah, well, you cannot. No, actually, sorry, this is a sentence. I'm sorting the wrong thing. So what I need to sort is this length list. Additions. So I need to sort additions. I hope I'm right. Let's try that. Yeah, so as we can see, set object has no attribute sort. So no sort for set. If one wanted to order it in any way, then probably changing to the set. Where did we change it? To the set. We changed it here to the set. Changing it to the set might not be the best idea. There's other ways of removing duplicates.
About changing the set back to list, the list to set to list.
Yeah, well, we can try that. Yeah. So let's try that. And we have the source still here. No. Let's try 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, there we go. Well, actually, it worked great. Cloudy, cold, dry, hail, humid, snow, sunny, warm, and windy. That's great. The set removes the repetitions in a nice way. So if I do press 6, 5, 5, 5, 5, 4, 4, 4, it's still going to work well. So that's a nice way, actually. Change back to list so that the speak can sort. Did I actually answer your question? Because I get the feeling that you were meaning something else.
Well, you also answered the question.
Okay, that's good.
By just testing out more than 3 variables. I just wanted to understand when the end, if the end always just shows second last, but answer is clear.
Okay, great. Because this one, it filters out 0. If I press 0, it doesn't record it. If I press here equal, then there actually would be 0.
Yeah, no, my question was more with the ifs, the
Okay.
if end, and so it's not in there. It was more the formula we created there and how end is being placed.
Okay. Actually, even though I press 0, it's still, well, I pressed 0 and it's did not. Okay, because it's -1 index. So the choice got -1. And 0 -1 is basically the last item of the list, hail. And as you can see, it wrote hail, even though I pressed like 6, 7, and then 0. I did not press 9. So one needs to be careful if one wants it, something to be greater or greater and equal. So anyway, this works well. There are functions that have return, like I mentioned before, this pop function. When using a list, it got a return. So when I print something, sentence, I wonder if what works for array. I mean, for a string. I think it might. No, it doesn't. We need a list. So choice list. I have to put something there, otherwise it doesn't pop anything. And because I popped the last value from the list, it actually showed, like I mentioned. But if we do like a bonus sort here, the sort list, the sort function does not have any return. So that's why when it when we want to print the value of this list being taken under some function, I mean with a function used on it, it doesn't not have a return defined. So that's why we get none. We have some functions like speak. And what we can do, it just takes 2 strings, right? And we try to call the function, print it out. Okay, the second one is not a string, it's a list of, well, whatever action. Let's see if this works. No, it wants actually a string. Let's see if this works now. As we can see, we called the function here, but what we did, we ordered to print the value, basically. Then it prints the value of the function. Well, it's the function when called inside this print actually managed to print this. A, 1 and 2. Well, it doesn't make much sense, but it works this way. And after that, the print command, because we launched the function inside the function. So this function takes precedence. So this one is launched first. So we go back here and it prints this sentence it had. So this A plus the additions 1 and 2, that's what it did. And after that, this outside function was called and it printed the value returned by this function. And there it is, none. So it's not much, is it? But it's no problem. We can return a number. We can return 12. I don't know why 12, but why not? And when printing it, it did give us 12. Meaning that now when the function is called, it does return some value. It's quite useful. For example, this this pop function, it gives a useful idea of what was removed from the list. So it is quite nice. So let's practice some of these functions. I'll